Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt, it's a real simplification, but generally speaking, we already use meds that are stabilizers, right? And so when there's lack of structure, lack of coherency, we use substances that cause that. The kind of substances you're using are basically work the other way, right? They undo structures that are perhaps too rigid. They undo some defenses and loosen things up. So generally speaking, the idea would be, okay, where there's not enough coherence, not enough structure, not enough organization, there are substances that can help make that happen. Where there's too much that's keeping a person stuck because of the other side, then there are substances that can loosen that up. And I think that, obviously it's dicey. The ones that are stabilizers, it's easier, if you it's less risky if it's too powerful a stabilizer, well then you just get flatlining, and that's not as dangerous as if you overprescribe going the other way, right? So it's a dicier, thing to work with, but I think it's, there's obviously tremendous power in various medicinal substances, and so I think it's obviously moving in that direction. I think it's going to happen more and more. I think we're already seeing it, and it'll keep going in that direction. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, I just wanted to get your take on that. If you thought that would be a reasonable way to induce sort of the states that you're talking about, that's also in line with what researchers that are using those to do that with very specific things, but perhaps in a more generalized way of doing psychotherapy.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
I don't know if I can bring my thoughts together with words very well. I sort of know what I mean, but I'm not quite sure how to say it. As you're talking, I've been thinking about. As you're talking, I've been thinking about dream work, art therapy, things that help people put what they're experiencing into representational systems that are not the rigid structures. Take them out of the rigid structures, put them into representational systems that are more fluid and malleable and can kind of change the relationships between things in their minds. Is that making sense,
yeah.
kind of?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been thinking about psychosis as sort of a struggle to do that by other means, or maybe a falling into it when things get too disintegrated. So there are representational systems in psychosis that I think we can relate to, and I totally agree with what you're saying about kind of relating and resonating with the client when they're in that place. And Faith was mentioning, I don't know how many people here are familiar with The Abyss of Madness. George Atwood book really goes into that quite a lot. But anyway, so just to kind of tie it together, I guess I wanted to bring up this idea. I wanted to bring up dream work, imagination, metaphor, and the work that can do in therapy to kind of, in this kind of in-between space. That's maybe also a kind of altered state, I don't know.
Yeah, I would totally
Make sense?
agree, and my understanding is that was basically what, one of Jung's primary, assertions was there's something there, right? The reality of the psyche, the reality of the interior, and that rather than that's all the psychotic territory, and how do we organize it? Exactly what you're saying. If I'm hearing you correctly, and correct me if I'm not, but if we take
basically I'm talking about the use of metaphor.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and so because you have the imaginal realm, to use that term, and then you have the cognitive realm, And generally speaking, the cognitive realm is trying to represent and organize imaginal experiences, right? And the metaphor and the idea that the imaginal realm is actually inherently symbolic, right? And so the navigation of that and the integration of that, as far as cognitively understanding the symbols of the imaginal realm, is huge. And
It's integration, it's integrating.
integrating, right,
Yeah.
right. And so you can have a client who's depressed, for example, and actually is needing to dive into the imaginal, or you can have a client who's flailing around in the imaginal and needs to integrate the cognitive. And as therapists, it's important to try to be discerning that, right? This idea of, are they too stable or are they too unstable? And then which approach to come at it from. Yeah.
In your method, do you use energy as information? Your connection with the energy of your client or your patient or whatever, as actual information in the translation? If that makes sense. Or is it all more cognitive, the Ken Wilber's, the indigo levels? Do you know where I'm going or no?
I think I'm doing both. Primarily I'm letting the energy kind of speak for itself. I'm trying to do as little interpretation or translation cognitively myself. I see the energy as the information pathway. Am I speaking to what you're talking about?
Yes.
And I notice time and again that you know, the energy without the words, something happens. The words without the energy, nothing happens. You know what I mean? It just seems obvious that it's the energy that's important.
Can I speak as a client? I think that it feels
Only if
like
it's
for
something
the as a very experienced client. One of the most profound things that I have found with the working with you versus other therapy that I've done is the energy, is when you identify and help me identify and articulate the energy. It's just like, I mean, honestly, it's like when you call out what you're seeing happening, that is just like huge and profound. And it's like, it helps put a container around all the insane crap that goes around in my head. So even if I don't know what it is, or if I wasn't sure about it, it's like, and it sort of feels like, wow, you can just like see right through me, you know, and it's like, which is kind of creepy at times, but it's just like, I don't know, and I'm not sure I'm even articulating it, but that's been huge in the work that I've done with you, that piece, without words even sometimes, but when there are words around it, it's even more stabilizing.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
I don't know if that was really very articulate, but
Oh, that was, it was totally